The day I won the lottery was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Instead, it became the day my marriage died. I still remember standing inside that small gas station near my office holding a coffee in one hand and the lottery ticket in the other while the cashier checked the numbers twice with trembling hands. At first, he looked confused. Then pale. Then suddenly excited. "Ma'am," he whispered. "You need to contact the lottery office immediately." My heart started racing. "What do you mean?" He turned the screen toward me slowly. And that's when I saw it. Every single number matched. $500 million. For a moment, I honestly couldn't breathe. The entire store suddenly felt smaller around me. My ears rang loudly while my knees weakened. I remember grabbing the edge of the counter because I thought I might collapse. The cashier kept talking but I barely heard him. $500 million. My entire life changed in less than 10 seconds. The first person I wanted to tell was my husband. Ethan. We had been married for 9 years. 9 years of struggling financially together. 9 years of overdue bills, cheap apartments, stressful arguments about money, and exhausted late nights wondering if life would ever get easier. I worked as a medical receptionist while Ethan managed operations at a furniture company downtown. We weren't rich. Not even close. But I truly believed we loved each other. And in that moment, all I could think about was finally surprising him with the news that would change our lives forever. I imagined his reaction the entire drive. I imagined us crying together. Laughing together. Planning vacations. Buying our dream home near the ocean. Helping our families. Starting over without stress. For the first time in years, I felt genuinely hopeful. I stopped at an expensive bakery on the way and bought champagne along with Ethan's favorite chocolate cake. The employees congratulated me after overhearing my excited phone call with the lottery office. Everything felt unreal. Like a movie. By the time I reached Ethan's office building downtown, my hands were still shaking from excitement. I parked quickly and grabbed the cake carefully while smiling to myself like an idiot. I wanted this moment to be perfect. I didn't call him beforehand because I wanted to see his face the second I told him. That was my mistake. The receptionist downstairs smiled politely. "Do you have an appointment with Mr. Carter?" I laughed softly. "I'm his wife." She looked surprised for some reason. Then slightly uncomfortable. That should have been my first warning. But I ignored it. She told me Ethan was upstairs in a private meeting. I smiled proudly. Perfect. I'll surprise him. The elevator ride felt endless. I kept staring at the champagne bottle inside the gift bag, imagining how our entire future was about to change. But when the elevator doors finally opened, my entire world shattered instead. At first, I heard laughter. A woman's laughter. Then Ethan's voice. Soft. Flirtatious. Completely different from the exhausted tone he used at home every day. The office door near the conference room was slightly open. And when I looked inside, I froze. Ethan sat on the office couch with another woman in his lap. His hand rested comfortably against her thigh while she kissed his neck slowly. For a second, my brain genuinely refused to process what I was seeing. Because betrayal never looks real at first. It feels distant. Like your mind is watching somebody else's nightmare. The cake slipped from my hands and crashed onto the floor loudly. Both of them looked up instantly. And the expression on Ethan's face changed so fast it almost looked painful. Shock. Fear. Panic. Then guilt. "Rachel." I couldn't move. The woman quickly stood up, fixing her blouse awkwardly while Ethan rushed toward me. "Baby, listen. Don't touch me." My voice barely sounded human. I stared at him while my chest tightened so painfully I thought I might faint. This man. This man I spent nearly a decade loving. This man I defended constantly to my family. This man I stayed beside through unemployment, debt, depression, and failure. And while I was driving there planning to surprise him with $500 million, he was cheating on me in his office. The humiliation burned deeper than the heartbreak. Because suddenly every struggle we survived together felt meaningless. The receptionist downstairs knew. The employees probably knew. Maybe everybody knew except me. The woman grabbed her purse nervously and rushed out of the office without saying a word. Coward. Ethan kept trying to approach me. Rachel, please, it's not what you think. I laughed bitterly through tears. Are you serious right now? He looked terrified. Actually terrified. And suddenly I realized something. He wasn't afraid of losing me. He was afraid because he didn't know why I showed up unexpectedly. He had no idea I had just become one of the richest women in America. And for some reason, that thought changed everything inside me. I slowly wiped my tears. Then I looked directly into his eyes. I came here to surprise you, I whispered. His face tightened with confusion. What? I reached into my purse, pulled out the lottery ticket, and placed it quietly on his desk. At first, he didn't understand. Then he looked closer. And the color drained completely from his face. You won? I nodded slowly. $500 million. The silence afterward felt almost evil. Because I literally watched regret enter his body in real time. His breathing changed. His eyes widened. His entire posture shifted instantly. And honestly, that hurt even more. Because suddenly his panic became desperate. Not emotional. Desperate. He grabbed my hands immediately. Rachel, please, baby, we can fix this. Fix this. I stared at him in disbelief. 5 seconds earlier he was cheating comfortably in his office. Now suddenly he wanted our marriage? I stepped backward slowly. No, I said quietly. You destroyed this yourself. Then I picked up my purse and walked away while he followed me through the hallway begging loudly. Employees stared openly now. Some pretended not to look. Others watched everything. Humiliation flooded my body with every step. Rachel, please don't do this. I turned around near the elevator. No, Ethan, I replied calmly. You did this. And then the elevator doors closed between us. I cried the entire drive home. Not because of the money. Because honestly, the lottery barely mattered anymore. I was mourning my marriage. Mourning the version of Ethan I thought existed. That night he called me over 40 times. I ignored every single one. Then came the texts. Long apologies. Excuses. Promises. Blaming stress. Blaming work pressure. Blaming emotional distance. Cheaters always search for explanations that make betrayal sound complicated. But the truth is usually simple. If somebody truly loves you, they protect your heart even when life gets hard. Around midnight, Ethan finally came home. His eyes looked swollen like he'd been crying. For years, seeing him emotional would have broken my heart. That night? I felt numb. He sat across from me quietly at the kitchen table. I made the biggest mistake of my life, he whispered. I stared at him coldly. No, I replied. Getting caught was the biggest mistake of your life. That sentence silenced him immediately. Because deep down, both of us knew it was true. If I never showed up unexpectedly, he would have continued cheating comfortably. And somehow that realization brought me peace. Over the next few days, Ethan transformed into the perfect husband overnight. Flowers. Jewelry. Crying apologies. Love letters. Romantic dinners. Suddenly he appreciated me again. Suddenly I mattered. Suddenly our marriage was worth saving. But every time he touched me, I pictured another woman sitting in his lap. And once trust dies like that, Something permanent changes. A week later, news about the lottery became public. Everything exploded instantly. Reporters. Phone calls. Family members I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly contacting me. Friends acting strangely. People pretending to care about me while secretly caring about money. And Ethan? He became even more desperate. One night he sat beside me crying while holding my hands tightly. "We can start over," he whispered. "I love you." I looked at him carefully for a long moment. Then asked the only question that mattered. "Would you still love me if I never won the lottery?" The silence answered everything. 3 weeks later, I filed for divorce. And Ethan completely lost control. Begging. Anger. Promises. Manipulation. At one point he actually accused me of abandoning the marriage. That almost made me laugh. He cheated. But somehow I became the villain for refusing to stay. The divorce process turned ugly quickly because Ethan suddenly realized what he lost financially. And honestly, that was the final betrayal. Because instead of mourning our relationship, he mourned the lifestyle he imagined having beside me. My lawyers protected most of the winnings since the ticket was purchased individually before official financial claims connected to our marriage. That fact infuriated him. I still remember the rage in his voice during one courtroom argument. "You're seriously leaving me with nothing?" Nothing. After cheating on me. The audacity shocked even his own lawyer. Months later, the divorce finalized quietly. And despite everything, I cried afterward. Not because I wanted him back. Because grieving someone who still exists feels strangely painful. The hardest part wasn't losing Ethan. It was accepting that the version of him I loved never truly existed. After the divorce, I disappeared from social media completely. I moved into a quiet oceanfront property in California and spent almost a year rebuilding my life privately. Therapy helped. Travel helped. Peace helped. But most importantly, distance helped. Because when you finally step away from toxic love, you begin noticing how exhausted you truly were. One afternoon nearly a year later, I ran into Ethan accidentally at a coffee shop during a business trip to Chicago. At first, I barely recognized him. He looked older. Tired. Defeated. And when our eyes met, the regret on his face felt almost heartbreaking. He walked toward me slowly. "You look happy," he said quietly. For the first time in years. I genuinely was. We talked briefly. Nothing emotional. Nothing dramatic. Just two strangers discussing the ruins of a marriage that once meant everything. Before leaving, Ethan looked at me carefully and asked, "Do you ever miss us?" I thought about the question honestly. Then shook my head slowly. "No," I answered softly. "I miss who I thought you were." And honestly, that was the moment I fully healed. Because money didn't destroy my marriage. The lottery simply exposed the truth before I wasted another 10 years loving someone who never deserved me. And sometimes the worst moments of your life reveal the best thing that could have happened to you.